I thought it would be really interesting for you to see a few bits of my old pieces of work when I was using masking fluid back in the day. I'm afraid I don't have any examples from my college days, but what I do have are examples from my portfolio that I used as an editorial illustrator. The first example I want to show you is what is his dance floor style. And to give you some context, it was the Britpop era towards the end of the 1990s, and this was actually painted in ink because I didn't know how to use watercolors then. You can see where I've applied the masking fluid along the lines of their trousers and the edge of their clothes, also to define a part of their elbow and arm here, and also in these sneakers or trainers, as we say in the UK. This one is called Cringe Couples, and I've pretty much done the same here along the edge of their clothes, also highlights in their hair. And these two pieces just got me work for years and years and years because it was of that era. So they appeared in magazines like Smash Hits, if you remember that, and also teen books. This is an example of more editorial work where I used a bit of masking fluid in just black and white illustrations, again to define the edges of arms and add movement in trousers and a bit more dynamic. Now I'm going to move on to a few pieces that I created after I got back from my travels in India and the Far East. This was created using masking fluid and wax resist, and you can see the line work I would have probably applied with a dip pen in his moustache and also in his turban and in some of the arches here. You'll see that in this block of pattern here, it would have been some sort of a screen. I've applied it using a brush, and you can see it's left quite textural marks there. Now for this rice paddy scene, you can see that I have picked out individual strands of the rice plant. It is very fine. I think I probably used a mapping pen, dip pen, because it's so thin. And also applied the masking fluid along the edges here, just so that it contrasts against the paddy field behind it. Again, these are ink because I did not know how to use watercolors. This example, it looks like I flicked masking fluid in certain areas, especially here. And also there are other examples where I've put masking fluid along the edges of these potatoes, and I don't know what they are, pomelos maybe, bits of the banana. So it's really just picking out certain details, especially the highlights, just to make the piece pop a little bit better. With this version, you can tell I created this in my 20s. Again, I'm picking out the highlights of some of the bottle tops here along these edges. Something else I want to point out is I probably applied masking fluid on some of the hand lettering just to help it along. And if you look very close, you'll see that I had a pencil outline to guide me. Now for this orchid, it's a much larger piece. And you can see here along the edges where I stretched the paper, because what I was using was actually heavy duty cartridge paper or general purpose art paper, because this is actually mixed media. It's a mixture of gouache and ink probably. And what I've done is pick out the background pattern it's kind of a batik inspired pattern, and I apply the masking fluid to that background first, and then I painted over it. And this became a greetings card, and also this became a greetings card, and this was a greetings card. And in fact, what happened was the art buyer of Asda, which is the US version of Walmart, bought a version of this because she liked all the wax resist and masking fluid techniques that I'd included. Now I want to move on to this really cute little Moleskine sketchbook, which I started in 2020, and this was part of a 30-day project, and I love creating in here because there's no fixed agenda. This first spread is really moody. They're just imaginary scenes set at night because I was really playing around with the contrast, and so the lighthouse and the moon really stands out against that background, and there's obviously lots of splatters there which I was hoping would add to that moody effect. And on this next page we are playing with a lot of verticals here. It's just me just trying to have fun, trying to work out a few ideas. If you look at the whiteness of the trees against the background, I think that works really well. For this page, I actually had to cross-reference my Instagram because I didn't know what type of masking fluid pen I was using for these two waves, and they are certain applicator pens, which I will talk about later. I'm not sure what was happening here because, as you can see, the pen that I used that day was not adhering to the paper and the watercolor was able to seep underneath the masking fluid. That's the sort of things that we are trying to find out and we can note down during our warm-ups. These are really cute as well, and they gave me a few ideas for creating this class. These lanterns are actually some of my favorites to create. I really love layering the colors on and working some of the details in ink line. I think they work really well because of that light-dark relationship. I think one of the best things about this little sketchbook was learning a lot more about contrast. You'll see some of the projects in this class are variations of what I started in this small Moleskine.